Hello. Well, thank you all for coming. It's a great pleasure to be here. This happens to be my fourth national convention, and they seem to be getting better every year. Yesterday, we had our second annual medical symposium, and we heard from a number of medical experts on glutathione. My father, Dr. Herbert Nagasawa, spoke about the development of ribosine, which he mentioned was a collaborative effort of 9 PhDs, all with different backgrounds from biochemists, organic chemists, pharmacologists, and medicinal chemists like himself. And the discovery path, like many discoveries, had many twists and turns. I understand for many of you, this is your first time at a national convention, so a very special welcome to all of you. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Minnesota, left after high school to attend college in Southern California, and currently consider Southern California my home. My father is a retired professor of medicinal chemistry and toxicology at the University of Minnesota, and is the reason why I'm here today. Many academic scientific researchers spend their entire lives doing research in hopes that their efforts will ultimately find its way into helping people, and that the research, making a difference in people's lives. About 7 years ago, I received a phone call from my father requesting my help in the commercialization of ribosine, because he wanted to see ribosine available without prescription throughout the entire world during his lifetime. Well, fast forward to today, with the help of Max International, my father's dream has come true. And innovative products containing the ribosine technology is sold in 8 countries and soon to be in many more. My father's always told me never to underestimate the audience that you're speaking to, and that everyone has interest in the science. And he believes if you understand the science will sell itself. So that is the request from my father. Another request from my father, and that is to provide you the science. And over the years, I've received a number of questions regarding glutathione and ribosine, and I've narrowed them down into 7 key questions. And I believe, going over the answers to these questions, that you will come to realize what we're so excited about. And here are the 7 questions on this slide. And over the next 25 minutes, I plan to go over the answers to them, and then my father will come up and say a few words. So are we ready to get started? I promise it won't be too painful. Well, the first question is a very basic question, but a very important one, and that is, what is a free radical? In order to talk about the antioxidants and the important role that they play, we need to understand what a free radical is, where do they come from, and the damage they can cause if they're not neutralized by our antioxidants. The most common free radical that we're exposed to comes from oxygen, and I have here on the slide an illustration of a superoxide free radical, where oxygen is carrying 1 extra electron, forming the superoxide free radical. And by definition, a free radical is a molecule that has 1 extra electron, or it can also have a missing electron. And these molecules are very reactive and unstable, and will interact with our healthy cells and tissue and cause damage if they're not neutralized by our antioxidants, which will donate an electron to these free radicals, making them stable once again. There are 2 major sources of free radicals. They can come from normal metabolic processes that occur in the body, or they can come from environmental sources. In fact, during the basic metabolic process of converting our food into energy as ATP, our cell's energy source, our bodies produce free radicals. And these free radicals just happen to be a byproduct of energy production. They are also generated in inflammation, infections. Daily stress can increase the production of free radicals, and consuming of unhealthy diets high in fat and sugar can also lead to the increased formation of free radicals. But a more recent concern, as a consequence of living in a modern industrialized society, we are constantly exposed to unhealthy amounts of environmental chemicals and pollutants. And this is becoming a major source of our free radical exposure. And I don't think that we realize the daily contact and exposure that we have with many of these environmental toxins. Also, certain medications, including alcohol, are a source of free radicals, as well as UV radiation from the sun, and ionizing radiation that we receive from medical CT scans and X-rays produce free radicals. And we want to minimize our exposure to this type of radiation over our lifetime. Well, the problem with excess or too many free radicals being formed is they can damage our cells. And they can damage the cell wall. They can affect the cell membrane's permeability to nutrients and the cell's ability to remove toxins. And this can lead to the death of the cell. They can also damage the mitochondria. And the mitochondria of our cells are the factory of our cells that produce ATP. And this can also lead to cell death. These excess free radicals can attack our proteins, attack our DNA, as you can see in this slide, which can lead to DNA mutation and potentially cause cancer. And there's also evidence that excess free radical formation can lead to premature aging. So how do we protect ourselves against these damaging free radicals? Well, the good news is that we all have a natural built-in system that protects us against free radicals, known as our antioxidant defense system. And this defense system is made up of 3 distinct groups of antioxidants. And they all work together to neutralize all the different types of free radicals that we're exposed to on a daily basis. And the first group of antioxidants that make up this defense system are known as our exogenous antioxidants, or simply those antioxidants that we get through foods. So included in this group would be vitamin C, vitamin E, your flavonoids, your polyphenols, as well as all the other antioxidants that we get through foods. The second group of antioxidants that make up this defense system are known as our endogenous antioxidants. And these antioxidants are naturally produced by our bodies for the purpose of protecting our cells against free radicals. And this group includes glutathione, alpha-lipoic acid, and coenzyme Q10 or CoQ10. As you may suspect, glutathione plays a key role as part of this defense system that I'm going to emphasize and talk in more detail about a bit later. And the final group are the antioxidant enzymes, and you may be familiar or heard of them before, and they include superoxide dismutase, catalase, and glutathione peroxidase. And there's also a few other glutathione enzymes as well. But collectively, these are the antioxidants that make up our antioxidant defense system that protect our cells against free radical damage. The term oxidative stress is often referred to when we talk about antioxidants and free radicals. And it's important that you all understand what it means. And it simply describes a situation where we have too many free radicals being formed from metabolic and environmental sources, and not enough antioxidants within our system to neutralize all these free radicals. And this imbalance is known as oxidative stress. And this problem of having too many free radicals and not enough antioxidants is damaging to our cells. The fact that we're constantly exposed to unhealthy amounts of environmental chemicals and toxins makes us vulnerable to long periods of oxidative stress. And this is unhealthy for our cells, and we need to try to avoid this situation where the free radicals have the upper hand. And the reason why I say that is that there are over 75 diseases and disorders that are associated with this imbalance known as oxidative stress, including certain cardiovascular diseases like atherosclerosis, neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's. Diabetes happens to be a form of oxidative stress. macular degeneration and cataract formation has been linked to this imbalance. Inflammatory diseases and disorders, premature aging of the skin, and the list just goes on and on. Well, now is a good time to transition and talk about glutathione and why it is considered the master antioxidant. Well, let me just say that glutathione is essential for our health. It happens to be the most abundant antioxidant in our tissues, naturally produced by our bodies for the purpose of being our natural cell protector. So it's no surprise that it's found in virtually all of our cells. The chemical structure of glutathione, it is a tripeptide, and so by definition, it's really not a protein. Proteins contain many, many amino acids. A tripeptide contains 3 amino acids. And the 3 amino acids that make up glutathione are glutamic acid, cysteine, and glycine. Glutathione is considered the master antioxidant because it performs many key functions within the body. Not only is it an antioxidant, capable of neutralizing many different types of free radicals, it is highly concentrated within our cells. And this is where antioxidants are most needed. It is one of the few antioxidants that's found in the mitochondria of our cells to protect mitochondria DNA. And this is an extremely important function. And what's becoming apparent in the literature is that protecting mitochondria DNA from free radical damage may be the most important element in maintaining our cellular health. So many basic science researchers today are looking at the consequences of mitochondria DNA damage by free radicals and how this may be linked or related to many of these diseases that we just saw in the previous slide. Glutathione is also a detoxifier and one of the primary ways that our body eliminates toxic environmental chemicals that we inhale and ingest on a daily basis. And we do this through a process known as glutathione conjugation. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. And finally, it's an immune system enhancer that not only protects, but will also regulate our immune cells and is critical in maintaining a healthy immune system. In addition, glutathione is considered the master antioxidant because it has the ability to recycle itself, unlike other antioxidants. So what this means is that after glutathione donates its electron to neutralize a free radical, it can regenerate or recycle itself with the help of a glutathione enzyme. So it can function as an antioxidant again and can continue to neutralize free radicals over and over again. It's also responsible for recycling other key antioxidants like vitamin C and vitamin E. So clearly, glutathione deserves the distinction of being the master antioxidant. Would you all agree? Well, here is an illustration of how glutathione is produced within our cells. And we manufacture glutathione in 2 very simple steps, but both steps require a specific enzyme in order for these amino acids to come together. And the first step is a combining of the 2 amino acids, glutamic acid and cysteine, to form a glutamic acid-cysteine complex. And the second and final step is the addition of glycine here in green to form glutathione. This glutathione production pathway, though, happens to be controlled or regulated. And we actually have the ability to increase or decrease glutathione production based on our glutathione levels within our cells, which is pretty neat. So in oxidative stress, when our glutathione levels within our cells would be low, what happens is this first enzyme here becomes activated so our cells can start producing more glutathione. And this is a defense mechanism our cells have to protect it against oxidative stress by manufacturing additional glutathione. But glutathione's ability to rally in oxidative stress will depend on the amount of the cysteine amino. Oops. We'll get the slides. It will depend on the amount of the cysteine amino acid that's available and is the critical amino acid for the production of glutathione. So if the cysteine amino acid is in short supply, this will slow glutathione production, preventing glutathione's ability to rally in oxidative stress. Glutathione's response to oxidative stress is an example of how important glutathione is for our cellular health. Because it's glutathione that our cells will depend on to protect it against oxidative stress or cellular damage by trying to manufacture additional glutathione. So the cell then can reestablish this critical balance between the free radicals and its antioxidant defense system, making glutathione a key component of this defense system that protects our cells against oxidative stress. Well, our ability to detoxify and remove environmental toxins from the body is extremely important for our health. Many compounds that we're exposed to, like your environmental chemicals and pollutants, even medication or drugs that we use to treat illnesses, these substances or compounds are not natural to the body, and the body will consider them to be foreign. And we must have a way to remove or get rid of them, otherwise they will quickly accumulate and cause toxicity. And the removal mechanism is a detoxification process where we'll break down these drugs, environmental chemicals, and pollutants into smaller pieces. Okay, in other words, we metabolize them into smaller water-soluble pieces so these compounds can be eliminated through the kidneys. The glutathione detoxification process plays a key role in the removal of many environmental toxins, but we do this at the expense of glutathione, and this can lead to glutathione depletion. And here is an illustration of the glutathione detoxification pathway, and this will help you understand how glutathione is lost during this process. As I mentioned earlier, glutathione detoxifies through a process known as glutathione conjugation. When we inhale and ingest toxic chemicals, drugs, or carcinogens, glutathione will actually physically attach to them with the help of some glutathione enzymes, forming a glutathione conjugate, or if you prefer, a glutathione complex, which is more water-soluble, will be further detoxified and metabolized, escorted out of our cells, and then eliminated through the kidneys. And if you focus on the bottom portion of the slide is a more simplified version of the glutathione detoxification process, where glutathione is attaching to the toxin, forming a combined product, which will be further broken down or metabolized into smaller water-soluble pieces so these toxins can be removed through the kidneys. And what's important here is many environmental chemicals and pollutants are fat-soluble. And we must have a way to remove these chemicals, otherwise they will quickly accumulate and cause toxicity. And the glutathione detoxification process is responsible for the removal of many of these environmental toxins, preventing their accumulation and causing toxicity or illness. Well, there are many causes for glutathione depletion, and this is the rationale for supplementation. And as I just mentioned, exposure to environmental toxins and pollutants, their detoxification and removal through the glutathione detoxification pathway can lead to glutathione depletion, as well as the many causes that are related to free radical formation that I mentioned earlier can all result in lower glutathione levels. It's also well published, that as we age, our glutathione levels decrease. And these are all good reasons why we need to consider glutathione supplementation as a way to maintain optimal glutathione levels. Many of us take a vitamin mineral supplement because we can't always eat a balanced diet due to our busy lifestyles. And we will often, out of convenience, eat processed foods. Well, these processed foods are known to be less nutritious, and therefore, it makes sense that many of us take a vitamin mineral supplement as a way to kind of provide us some nutritional insurance. Well, using that same logic, taking a glutathione supplement makes similar sense. The need to increase glutathione levels through supplementation led to ribosine's development. Ribosine was developed jointly by the University of Minnesota and the VA Medical Center in Minneapolis. They were aware of the important role that glutathione has in maintaining our health, but in particular, they were investigating its beneficial effects on the liver being primarily responsible for detoxification. Dr. Nagasawa's laboratories at the VA Medical Center and the University of Minnesota were considered to be experts in glutathione chemistry, and he dedicated over 25 years of research to develop better dietary supplements for glutathione. Well, at the time, the VA Medical Center had a number of individuals developing alcohol liver disease due to chronic alcohol abuse. And it was known that individuals that had alcohol liver disease had low glutathione levels. And so the research then focused on trying to improve liver glutathione in hopes of preventing the progression of this disease. It was also known that individuals that chronically abused alcohol had poor dietary habits. And they would often binge drink, where alcohol becomes a substitute for food. And therefore, they didn't consume the necessary proteins and amino acids that the body needs to produce sufficient glutathione. As a chemist, Dr. Nagasawa was aware that both cysteine and glutathione themselves, given as dietary supplements, were not very effective in supporting glutathione levels, because both would be easily broken down in the stomach, because basically based on the chemical structure. And because of this, Dr. Nagasawa wanted to find a solution to this problem and develop a more effective dietary supplement to support the natural production of glutathione. And since the cysteine amino acid is a critical amino acid for the production of glutathione, research focused on improving the bioavailability of cysteine, trying to protect it as it went through the stomach with the goal of minimizing its breakdown. And they did this by attaching a natural sugar to cysteine. And the sugar happened to be ribose, which is a common sugar that's found in the body utilized to manufacture ATP. And by attaching these two natural compounds together, they found they could significantly improve the bioavailability of cysteine, essentially providing it safe passage through the stomach. And then once absorbed, it will just separate back into its two natural components, ribose and cysteine, where ribose then can support ATP production, and cysteine can be incorporated in the glutathione production pathway that we spoke about earlier. This technology appears simple, but it actually took thousands of dedicated research hours by many that ultimately led to ribosine's development, and its effectiveness in increasing glutathione levels has been published in many peer-reviewed journals. And here's a summary of the published studies on ribosine. Each bar represents an actual study. These studies were conducted over a period of 25 years and fall into 4 different categories. In the first study, the proof of concept study, demonstrated that ribosine can protect against oxidative stress by increasing glutathione levels. And this happened to be a very key study because ribosine showed such good protection in cellular oxidative stress. The National Institutes of Health continued funding ribosine research because they felt it was worthy of further study. The next series of studies were to better understand the properties of ribosine. And these studies demonstrated that ribosine can increase glutathione in many different organs. There were a number of efficacy studies that were done on ribosine, demonstrating that it could protect against different forms of radiation and various environmental chemicals and toxins. And finally, the condition-specific studies where the researchers were looking to protect against the long-term effects of oxidative stress in particular conditions, like cataract formation and age-related hearing loss. Well, to summarize, glutathione plays a critical role in the antioxidant defense system that protects our cells against oxidative stress and will rally in oxidative stress so long as there's sufficient cysteine available. Glutathione is important in cell detoxification. The glutathione detoxification process is responsible for the removal of many environmental toxins, preventing their accumulation and toxicity. Ribosine has been shown to increase glutathione levels, neutralizing oxidative stress. And finally, supplementation with ribosine needs to be considered in order to protect against these environmental toxins, minimize oxidative stress, and to promote healthy aging. I hope after going over these 7 questions that you have a better understanding on why we're so excited about the ribosine technology. And wanted to conclude today by sharing a quick true story with you. My niece, who is 20, off to college, recently reminded me that I once told her, not to buy movies on VHS tape because this was old technology and soon would become obsolete, and that DVDs were the future. And that my prediction of this, came true. Well, she was home for the Christmas holidays back in December, and we were talking about the Cellgevity product, and I told her, I'm going to make another prediction. And that is, glutathione supplementation is going to be huge in this next decade, and her grandfather's technology is the future. Well, thank you for allowing me to share this science with you. This means a great deal to my father. And now I'd like to introduce my dad, Dr. Herbert Nagasawa.
Good.
Thank you. Disappeared. Thank you, Scott, for an excellent and very accurate overview of the chemistry and biology of glutathione, the master antioxidant. You don't know that you've learned chemistry and biology now? Glutathione is so important in maintaining adequate health throughout your life. As Scott has mentioned, it took many, many years and many twists and turns in the process, and many individuals with various different disciplines to develop ribosine finally. And I am grateful to Scott, as well as our partner, Scott Momi, and all of the MAT International Organization, including you folks here in the audience, as well as those who could not be here, for taking ribosine from the laboratory bench all the way to the general public to be able to deliver that to the people that are in need. It is really a dream come true. And I thank you all. I really thank you all. Thank you very much.